was a cold and unforgiving night in New York City. The streets were covered in snow, the sky overcast and dark as snowflakes fell like feather-like crystals. In the heart of Manhattan, Zane, a skilled assassin, stood on the windowsill, his eyes fixed on the city below, his breath visible in the cold air like mist. He had just completed his latest assignment, a wealthy, corrupt lawyer who had crossed one too many lines. The lawyer lay lifeless on the floor of his apartment, his death silent and swift. With a slow, deliberate motion, Zane pulls his bloodied blades from their sheath. The cold air makes the crimson droplets glisten like dark rubies as they fall onto the marble floor of the lawyer's penthouse. He methodically drags a clean black cloth along each blade, first one edge, then another, his movements precise and unhurried. Every wipe is calculated. He knows not to leave even a single fingerprint behind. The fabric comes away stained red in stark contrast to his gloves. He pauses for just half a second before tossing it into an empty fireplace with perfect aim. "Waste nothing," he mutters under his breath, "not even evidence." The fire in the fireplace flickers as Zane moves through the darkness like a shadow. His boots make no sound on the hardwood floor, no creak, no rustle, as he approaches an ornate file cabinet. With one brutal motion, he wrenches it open. The hinges protest with a sharp squeal before giving way entirely. Inside, stacks of documents, ledgers, contracts, names written in ink that could ruin lives. Without hesitation, he grabs armfuls and hurls them into flames still smoldering from earlier. Paper curls black at first, then erupts into orange and white fury as heat licks up toward his masked face. "Let's see you explain this," he growls to no one, "when all your sins turn to ash." For a long moment, he just watches the flames consume the remnants of the file, their glow casting sharp shadows across his face. The heat licks closer and closer, but he stands unfazed, his hands curled into tight fists. Finally, he turns away from the fire, his body angled towards the lawyer he killed earlier, with his back to the inferno. "You've lived a long life, full of corruption," he says as he kneels beside the corpse. "It's a damn shame that someone didn't end you sooner, old man." Zane shakes his head and glances out of the window at the sky. "This was too easy," he mutters as snowflakes begin to stick to the windowsill. "Now, let me get the hell out of here." He takes one last look around the room, taking in the wreckage and the now ruined file cabinet with a twisted sense of satisfaction. He's done his job. Now, he needs to get out before the approaching storm can complicate things. Zane slips out of the office into the living room, his footsteps as stealthy and silent as before. His movements are slow and deliberate, and his gaze is fixed straight ahead as he makes his way across the open floor. He scans the room, taking in the high ceiling, the luxurious furniture, the expensive artwork on the walls. Everything about the apartment screams wealth and corruption, a blatant display that he's glad to have destroyed. Zane pauses mid-step, his eyes locking on the figure lying motionless on the couch. For just a moment he is thrown off guard. He wasn't expecting any surprises. He'd planned this mission meticulously, factored in every possible variable. But this could be a problem. His body tenses, every muscle coiled in anticipation. He stands there, a statue in the near darkness, trying to make out any distinguishing features of the person on the couch without making a sound. Zane's hands hover at his waist for just the briefest second. His fingers itch to reach for the blade, but he stops himself. This wasn't part of the plan. The client never mentioned someone else. He gazes at the woman on the couch, watching the firelight play softly across her face. In spite of himself, he can't help but notice how the reflection makes her look almost peaceful, like an angel. He shakes his head, as if trying to brush away the thought. He was hired to kill the lawyer, but you being here complicates things. Who are you, and what is your connection to him? He racks his brain, trying to remember every detail the client had given him. Nothing had hinted at another person being in the picture. He could walk away right now, but he can't. Not until he knows the truth. Zane takes another step closer, his mind racing. He's considering the possibility that you were the lawyer's mistress, a young woman at his beck and call to do with what he pleased. It wouldn't be the first time he's come across a man like this. The corruption and greed. He looks at your face in the firelight. You're beautiful. There's no denying that, but there's something else about you. Something that makes him hesitate. Zane's gaze flicks to the photos on the mantle, all the different memories captured in frames. He picks up the family portrait, an image of you standing next to the lawyer, smiling with his hand on your shoulder. His heart sinks for a moment, but then he sees the resemblance. The same eyes, the same hair, that little something that was familiar. The relief he feels is almost palpable. This isn't the lawyer's mistress. This is his daughter. He lets out a breath he didn't even know he was holding. Zane steps closer still, his gaze never leaving you. He's trying to understand why you're here, sleeping alone in your father's penthouse. Shouldn't you be somewhere else, with friends, with a boyfriend? Somewhere warmer, at the very least? He's never been one to care for these little nuances before, but he can't help himself now. It's as if his mind is suddenly filled with curiosity about you. Zane runs a hand over his face, frustration rising. He knows the lawyer was supposed to be alone. The entire operation was based on this assumption. He'd been told that the lawyer lived alone, rarely had visitors, and kept to himself at work. So why are you here? He looks at you again, studying your features in the soft light. You look even more vulnerable now, and that just confuses him more. What are you hiding? What secrets do you hold? Zane freezes mid-step as the floorboard creaks under his weight. His body tenses, ready to react, whether by striking or fleeing if you wake up fully. But then he sees you stir slightly, your lashes fluttering against your cheeks as consciousness starts to return. The firelight catches in your half-open eyes for just a second before they focus on him, and his heart skips a beat. Shit, he mutters under his breath. This wasn't part of the plan. Zane moves in a flash, his instincts kicking in. Before you can fully wake, he's already at your side, kneeling beside the couch with one hand raised like he's about to reach for you, then hesitating. He forces himself into action, gently pressing a gloved finger against your shoulder as if checking for fever. Shh, easy, he murmurs, voice low and rough, but trying and failing to sound soothing. You're dreaming. Go back to sleep. His other hand hovers near his knife just in case this goes sideways fast. Zane swallows tightly, his heart thudding against his chest. Of all the scenarios he expected, having to explain himself to you was not one of them. He leans in a bit closer, his eyes roaming over your face like he's trying to memorize every detail. You're dreaming, he whispers again, voice low and soothing. I'm just a dream, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. Everything's fine, you're fine. Just sleep. Just a dream. Zane's breath catches as you raise your hands to rub at your eyes, innocent, sleepy, completely unaware of the danger standing right in front of you. His body tenses like a coiled spring. He could pull his knife in one swift motion and end this before it goes any further, but he doesn't move. Instead, he watches with something almost like guilt twisting inside him. No, he murmurs under his breath. Don't wake up now. Then louder, soft but firm. It's just a dream. Close those pretty eyes again. Zane's entire body locks up the second your weight leans into him. His breath hitches. He wasn't expecting this. For a split second, he considers shoving you off, stepping back like the trained killer he is, but then your head drops against his shoulder with a quiet sigh. Warmth seeps through his jacket where you press against him. Christ, he mutters under his breath, you're gonna get me killed. But despite himself, one gloved hand hesitantly rises to hover near your back, like he's debating whether to push or pull you closer. Zane curses himself for the millionth time in the past 5 minutes. He didn't anticipate you trying to use him as a pillow. He swallows hard and carefully places a hand on your shoulder, trying to gently nudge you off him. I didn't say sleep on me, princess, he says gruffly. His voice sounds tight, as if he's trying hard not to get drawn into this, whatever this is. Zane's eyes widen in surprise as you hug him, almost instinctively, before he can protest. You're so close to him now that he can feel the warm puff of your breath against his neck. It takes all his self-restraint not to shiver at the feeling. For a long moment, he just stands there frozen, one hand still resting on your shoulder while the other is held awkwardly in midair, as if contemplating whether or not to push you off again. Then he looks down at your face, your eyes shut and your expression peaceful, and he sighs in defeat. Zane carefully maneuvers you back into your original position on the couch, his touch surprisingly gentle. His thoughts are a whirlwind as he guides your head down onto the plush cushion, then grabs the nearby blanket and pulls it up to your shoulders. He's an assassin, a killer, an expert in violence and subterfuge, and yet somehow he's found himself tucking you in like a goddamn mother hen. He pauses just as he's about to pull away, one hand hovering above the blanket. Your voice is soft and sleepy, and it makes something twist in his chest. For a moment, he almost forgot himself. "I'm not going anywhere," he reassures in an even tone, careful to keep the concern from his voice. "You're dreaming, remember? Everything's fine, you're fine. Go back to sleep, princess." Zane's breath hitches as you reach for his hand. The simple action causes a rush of different feelings to stir within him. Surprise, confusion, something almost like excitement. He doesn't pull away, even though every instinct in his body is screaming at him to escape before this goes any further. Instead, he lets you guide him closer, following your lead without question. "I won't, princess." His voice is lower now, rough but soothing at once. "I'm staying right here. You just sleep." Zane exhales sharply, half frustration, half surrender, as his gloved fingers tentatively sink into your hair. His touch is awkward at first, rough from years of handling weapons rather than tenderness, but he adjusts. Slowly, methodically, he begins to card through your strands with deliberate motions. Each pass of his fingers is softer than the last until it's less like an assassin and more like someone trying and failing not to care too much. "There," he mutters under his breath, "just rest already." Zane's breath hitches as the light of the fire dances across your face, casting shadows against your delicate features. He's hyper-aware of the contrast between now and the violence he'd engaged in a few mere moments before. He shouldn't be looking at you this way. He shouldn't be feeling the emotions stirring to life in his chest. He's supposed to be a killer, an assassin, a weapon who takes lives without remorse. But he can't help himself from tracing the gentle line of your lips, your nose, your eyelashes with his eyes. Zane's eyes dart down to your neck, catching sight of the student ID hanging around it. He slowly pulls it up, angling it towards the firelight to properly read. His voice is low, almost more to himself than to you, as if he's committing each detail to memory. Columbia University. He trails off for a moment, thinking of the elite institution that sits in the heart of New York. It's a place he could have never dreamed of attending. Zane's hand pauses mid-motion as he registers your breathing, returning to a slow, steady pattern. You've fallen back asleep. He shouldn't be surprised. You are, after all, exhausted in more ways than one. Despite himself, a small smirk quirks at the corner of his lips as he slowly pulls his hand away. "I see you're a heavy sleeper, princess," he murmurs under his breath. Then, in a low voice, "But once I'm gone, I'm doing a damn background check on you." The firelight flickers as Zane carefully eases away from you. He pauses for just a moment, his gaze lingering on your sleeping form. Small and vulnerable, but still breathtakingly beautiful. The sight pulls at something within him. Something soft and tender that he'd thought he'd buried long ago. "Christ," he mutters under his breath, his voice barely a whisper. "Out of all the things that happened tonight, it had to be you." He vanishes without a trace, leaving nothing but a few footprints in the snow and an unsaid promise, "See you at Columbia."